Do you want to stay more focused on the right goals in your life, or even just figure out what the right goals are for you? Do you want clarity? Do you want better work-life balance? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Success Through Failure.
Welcome to the Success Through Failure podcast, the show that reveals failure as your path to success. You'll listen to intriguing interviews with some of the most successful people on the planet and learn how their failures became a launchpad for success and how yours can too. Here's your host, former Division I All-American wrestler, former Division I head coach, speaker, and personal coach, Jim Harshaw.
Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. Today, I bring you Chris Romulo. Do you feel out of balance in your life, like your family and your work are your priorities, but you don't have enough time in the day, so you're shortchanging them both? Not to mention wanting to work out more or do more of the things that you love. Are you easily distracted and you want to be able to stay more focused so you can lock in on the most important things that you know you should be doing? You want to be more consistent so you can achieve those goals that always seem just out of reach. Or maybe you feel like you just lack the motivation that it takes to get there. Or maybe you're just not clear on what the right first step actually is. Like every time you're about to take action, you doubt whether or not it's the right action or the right goal. I know the feeling. I've got a wife and 4 kids. I have a job, a rental property, this podcast, not to mention the inevitable challenges that just come up with life, like, illness and struggling family members or car trouble. I've got a lot going on. But when I was a Division I All-American athlete, I was completely locked in. I was focused. I was balanced, and I knew exactly what I wanted and the steps that I had to take to get it. But when I got into the real world, things got a lot more complex. There's just a lot more time demands. Like everything seems to be a priority. How are you supposed to figure out what's the right next step for you? Well, I've developed a system that helps you do just that. Find the balance, the clarity, the focus that you're looking for so you can take your life to the next level. So you can start seeing the dreams that are in your mind as realistic goals and have a plan to achieve them. I've opened a few spots on my calendar for free 30-minute strategy calls so you can take that first step toward the life that you've always dreamed about. Just one simple step, one small commitment that will give you huge results, a simple phone call that will leave you with a plan. If you want this life, if you want to truly have a breakthrough, claim one of the few spots open on my calendar, and I'll share with you the formula that has had people who I work with saying things like one of my recent coaching clients, Frank, who said, "My only regret is that I didn't do this 20 years ago." Or like Isaac, who said, "I love this version of myself the best, and I'll do anything to keep it going." I've got dozens more quotes like that. If you want to feel the same way, go to jimharshawjr.com/apply. That's jimharshawjr.com/apply. Chris is a Queens, New York native who always yearned for growth. In his early 20s, he transformed himself from a street kid into a Muay Thai champion with over 40 fights and 5 titles under his belt. Today, he's a coach at his gym, CROM, C-R-O-M, as in Chris Romulo. It's called CROM Physical Culture, and he's a mindset speaker to both youth and adults. Chris has taken what he's learned in the ring and turned it into a practical curriculum called Uprising. And the curriculum shows you how to tap into your natural abilities and become the champion of your life. And in May of 2017, Chris co-authored and published his memoir, Champions Uprising, which displays an unwavering mindset of determination, grit, and perseverance of spirit. What an awesome guest for this show. As usual, if you don't have time to listen to the entire episode, or if you hear some good stuff that you like, but you don't have time to write it down, make sure you grab your copy of the action plan. Just go to jimharshawjr.com/action. You get a free PDF, jimharshawjr.com/action. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jim. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And let's dive into your background a little bit, Chris. Tell us, we know you're from Queens, New York. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got from there to where you're at now.
So I guess we'll start at about 8 years old. I got into martial arts through my dad. He was a Taekwondo stylist when I was a kid, and I kind of followed him to the dojo and just kind of saw, got firsthand look at what martial arts was about from an early age. I started training, and I trained till about 15 years old. And, as a kid or as a teenager, I guess I kind of strayed away from the martial arts, path for a little bit. Got caught up in, hanging out, trying to be cool, trying to be the tough guy in my neighborhood in Queens Village, New York. And, about 20 years old, I got myself into an altercation that kind of strayed me back into the martial arts. And, I was lucky enough to find Muay Thai, and, I took it to the top level as an amateur. I was able to, fight for Team USA in Thailand and win a bronze medal. Eventually became a professional Muay Thai fighter out of New York, and, fought for a good number of years until I retired in 2011. And then decided to open up my own gym here in Rockaway Beach, where I'm sitting talking to you now, Jim.
And tell us about the gym. What's the story behind the name, CROM?
So CROM, it's a little bit of a funny story, but it's obviously my first initial and last name, first three letters of my last name. But it just so happens that CROM is actually Conan the Barbarian's god. And I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan the Barbarian. And Conan would pray to CROM, and it just worked out. So now, I don't consider myself a god, obviously, but, I'd like to think that it's a powerful name, and I felt like it fit, for a gym, a gym name.
Love it. That definitely fits. That's good stuff. So tell us about your book. So you wrote a book, just published just recently here in May. Tell us about Champions Uprising.
So Champions Uprising is...
And tell everybody the subtitle too. Love it.
Fall 7 times, stand up 8.
Love it.
And that's obviously an ancient Japanese proverb that I've done my best to live my life by for as long as I've been training in the martial arts and reading about guys like Bruce Lee and all these great martial artists, and just knowing that like life is gonna test you from time to time, and you might fall, but as long as you're alive and well, you can get up and keep fighting. So Champions Uprising is basically a memoir of my childhood and my fighting years, and a little bit of going into building the gym and the struggles and the triumphs that I've been through throughout I'm 42 years old, so for a good number of years now. And
you, and one of the things that I always ask my guests, Chris, is to tell me about a time you failed. And you talk about fall down 7 times, get up 8. I mean, can you share with us a moment where you failed? Because you were a champion fighter. Obviously, you were very good at your craft and what you did. And we, as sort of outsiders looking into your life, we look at it as just all success, right? We don't see the failures and the struggle and the dark places that you've been to get to that level. Can you share with us a moment of failure, a time when you failed and just kind of felt that hopelessness that a lot of us have felt or are currently feeling? It's in some area of our lives.
Yeah, for sure. So the turning point was definitely in my early 20s. I was a young adult, not much aspiration for life. I was kind of, living day to day. I obviously just barely graduated high school. I wasn't thinking about college or anything like that, and hanging out with the wrong people, and unfortunately, those were my friends at the time. And looking back at it now, they're not bad people. It's just people that just didn't have a vision. And luckily for me, I got into a street fight that actually gave me some vision in life. And it was a fight where I almost lost my life, if not for a good friend of mine who kind of saved me. Had my nose broken and my eye socket shattered.
My goodness, what happened? How'd that come about? Tell us a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was ego. I was again spending a lot of my teenage years trying to be the tough guy in the neighborhood because I thought that's what I needed to do because where I grew up, you had to prove yourself, and it wasn't the worst neighborhood, but again, it was a neighborhood where if you weren't showing some kind of strength or some kind of confidence in yourself, you were going to be picked on. And I spent a lot of my earlier years being bullied in school. So again, that was kind of my rebellious stage where I thought I needed to prove myself as much as I could until one day I tried to prove myself against the wrong kid in the neighborhood. And it was me and my best friend. We were walking down to Jamaica Avenue, which is a big street or a big avenue in New York. And there was this kid getting off of the New York City bus, and we kind of locked eyes. And again, ego was obviously blinding me, and I took it upon myself, to ask him, in the tough guy kind of way, like, what are you looking at? And then he asked me, he said, what are you looking at? And my neighborhood, that basically means let's see what you're made of, right? So, we decided to take off our jackets and scrap it out right there in the middle of the street. And I walked away, questioning myself as a man, as as a young man, is this the life that I really wanted for myself? Did I really want to keep fooling myself into believing that I was, trying to be a street kid and trying to be tough and trying to, let my ego get the best of me? So that point in my life really turned things around. I mean, from that day on, like I've never been the same. I've never had the same mindset. I've always, there was still a struggle to get to the point where I am now, but I always had a different way of looking at things, a different vision for my life. And I look back at it, even after writing the book, Champions Uprising, and believing that was a huge blessing in my life to be able, I'd like to think that if I ran across this gentleman nowadays, that I would thank him for that one moment in time that actually gave me some direction.
So what do you tell the listener who's sitting there and they're facing maybe something similar? They're trying to be something that they're not, or they want to be more than what they are, but they don't want to have to go through a street fight like you did, a moment where where you were physically beat up and emotionally beat up. I mean, I see so many people who sort of, I love this quote from Henry David Thoreau that the masses of men live lives of quiet desperation, and there's so many out there who are struggling. And sometimes we see it because they got the black eye to prove it, like you did. Sometimes we don't see it because they put the smile on their face and they post the nice family pictures on Facebook and everything looks la-di-da in their life, but inside they're dying, or inside they're really struggling. What do you say to that person who wants to make that change but hasn't had that big cataclysmic moment like you did?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. Struggle. I mean, struggle is a necessary part of existing. Embracing the struggle and understanding that there's always kind of like the yin yang concept. There's always a seed of positivity and negative, and there's always a seed of negativity in some positive, and it's a weird cycle of that. I look back on that situation, and even at the time, like I obviously didn't see the positivity in it, but it obviously shaped me to be the person that I am. So what I would say is that, whatever struggles that anybody is going through right now at this point in their life, believe that there's a reason for it, that you want to learn from it to keep, moving you forward and not, pulling you down. And I like to think of, the crabs in a barrel concept, and that could happen with people, or that can happen with even just your own mind. Like, the crabs at the bottom of the barrel are always pulling the ones that are almost, just over the edge. They're pulling them back down. So, don't let negative thoughts and hardships and disappointments, pull you down. Let them, move you forward. And the same with, people that are in your life that are trying to pull you down. You need to kind of figure out a way to stay away from those people and surround yourselves with the right people that are going to pull you up.
You talk on one of your blog posts recently a little bit about the struggle, and one of your blog posts called what's called here, the 6 dictators. The 6 dictators to crush in your life, and you talk about self-doubt, fear, disappointment, hardship, confusion, and negative self-talk. I mean, why do you call those the 6 dictators, and how do we deal with those?
Well, that all relates back to Champions Uprising, the book. The book, the memoir is not just a memoir. It's not just my story. It's a campaign that I want to promote, that we all have a champion within us. And the champion is, not just having a belt or a title or, a ring or a trophy. It's the love, the love and the passion and finding something to really dedicate your life to. And the uprising is, fighting against those dictators, the things that exist in your mind that sometimes we let hold us back and control us. The uprising is to, fight against these dictators, self-doubt, fear, disappointment, and know that it's going to be there. We can't get rid of it, but we have to know that we can control it and take control of it to better ourselves. So, yeah, I really believe that those dictators we can use that as not only something to think, all right, I don't know how to deal with this right now, but you know what? Accept and have gratitude that they're there, because they're there for a reason, to keep moving us forward.
I think it's important to note for the listener that he said that those things are going to be there. These 6 dictators are going to be there. The self-doubt, fear, disappointment, hardship, confusion, negative self-talk. Those things are real. I mean, those are going to be there. It's just a matter of controlling them. So just because you're experiencing them doesn't mean that for some reason you're not good enough or not smart enough or not capable enough. You are. It's just you have to learn how to control those things. You have to learn how to face these fears. And they talk about people who are achieve big things. It's not that they don't have fear. It's that they face the fear. They deal with the fear. They deal with the fear head on and make choices to actually walk toward the fear. And it sucks and it's scary, but that's how everything you want is on the other side of that fear. And that's what Chris is talking about. So that's great stuff, Chris. When I came across that blog post, I thought it was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit more about your curriculum, the Uprise curriculum you have.
So Uprise is another acronym where I believe that you need a skill set. I guess you could relate with this in the wrestling world, as a D1 wrestler, that, obviously you want to have a strong mindset to excel at any sport, especially wrestling. But now you need the skills. You need a single leg takedown. You need a single leg defense, or, things of that nature. So I believe Uprise, the acronym are those skills and tools that you need. So the first thing would be uncovering your purpose. And again, these aren't things that are new. I believe everybody understands this to some degree or another, but this is just my way of bringing it across. So the U in Uprise is uncovering your purpose or your why in life. Giving you, like for me, it was from an early age. My dad wasn't a guiding force in my life because he was a gambling addict, and he kind of ignored my family, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. But I just knew from an early age I wanted to make a name for myself. I didn't want to be the man, that my dad was, or still is. He's still around, but again, he's living and going about it in his own way. So that was my why from early on. P would stand for putting forth a vision. Again, having those goals and those dreams that give you a target in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do early on, but I just knew that I was somehow or in some way I was going to break the cycle of, my father and his father, and being non-existent. R would be refining your language. And that goes back to, self-talk. not just what you're saying to other people, but what you're saying to yourself, getting rid of the negative self-talk and always thinking like there's a positive or there's a possible way to achieve any dream that you can envision. R would be refining, I would be illustrating your goals.
Yeah, no, we get do R too. We haven't got R.
Oh, R, sorry. That would be refining your language. I kind of, I missed that. Refining your language and using positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk. I would be illustrating your goals, meaning writing your goals down on paper, maybe having a vision board of what you want to see, positive things that you want to see for yourself, even if it's just on a computer screen, just pictures of what you want, where you want to travel, or who you want to be. S would be surrounding yourself with the people that, again, are going to pull you up, surrounding yourself with champions. I'm sure as a D1 wrestler, you understood that you needed to make sure that you were looking up to mentors, whether it was your coaches or guys who are wrestling at higher levels than you. And for me, it was looking up to other fighters in the sport that have done what I wanted to do. And then E would be executing the game plan, getting in the fight or getting in the match or just getting in life and just saying, you know what, I'm willing to accept, again, the struggles and the mistakes that are going to happen, but there's no way to win unless you get in that fight.
Yeah, those are excellent. And for the listener, I will have those documented in the action plan. Just go to jimharshawjr.com/action, or of course you can go to Chris's website, chrisromulo.com, and I'll have links to his website and the action plan as well. So if you don't have time to write those down, definitely have those in there. So Chris, excellent stuff. So you're also, you're a father, you're a gym owner, now you're an author. You wear a lot of hats. You got a lot going on. How do you find balance? How do you find balance in your life to, I know you're a dedicated father. You've been on, Larry Hagner introduced us, Larry, the Good Dad Project. I know that it's a huge priority in your life and not something you take lightly, because of your own upbringing. Tell me how you find time for your family and find balance.
That goes back to, the Uprising system, I guess, talking, about, illustrating your goals. Like I have a journal where I set out things that I need to do for the week, the month, or even the year, looking that far ahead. So, it comes down to just, good habits, developing good habits. Like I have a morning routine where I get up, and I exercise early in the morning. I do something for myself, for my body, to help me, jumpstart my mind and my metabolism for the day. So, once you can, create a plan, that gives you the balance. But again, it's always a struggle. It's always a challenge. Things come up in your day that you have to kind of react to. But I get when I have a plan, those reactions sort of lessen. Reactions to different circumstances lessen because I know that, this part of the day I'm doing this. I'm coaching in the evening. After we leave the gym, I'm spending, I'm putting my phone to the side and I'm spending time with my sons or spending time with my wife. So, it takes being calculated, having a game plan. So that would be my biggest tip to people. Develop habits that you can do on a daily basis that will lead you towards, success.
It's interesting. I want to point out to the listener, for all the guys that I coach, I always tell them just what you said, Chris. It's a struggle. It's a battle. It's not something where you fix it once and it's done. It's like working out or eating right, like you've got to do it all the time. It's got to be a lifestyle. It's always going to be a grind. It's always going to be a battle. You're always going to have these external forces pulling on you and pulling you away from doing the things that are the most important things, like spending time with your family or like I said, diet or eating right and health and fitness and whatnot. So it's always going to be a battle. Don't think it's going to be easy. Interviewed a guy recently who's lost 225 pounds, and he said, it's harder now to maintain it. You know what I mean? He's like, so it's not like once you get somewhere, once you get to some level, everything is all of a sudden easy. It's a grind, but it's worth it. It's worth the battle. It's worth the grind.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, Jim. Like my thing is I like to tell, my students and my fighters that, training wise, like it should be like hygiene. You don't brush your teeth once a week. You brush your teeth a couple or a few times a day on a daily basis to know that you're doing a little bit here and there to keep your teeth, clean, right? But training should be the same thing. I'm not saying you have to do a full blown 2-hour workout, every single day. I'm saying a little bit at a time. Like my workouts in the morning are about an hour long, and 1 hour a day for 6 or 7 days a week is what keeps me fresh and keeps me strong.
Yep. And so, Chris, my listeners like to get a concrete action item that they can take with them. Something they can do in the next, let's say, 24 to 48 hours to really start moving towards their goals. Is there an action item that you could share with the listener they could execute on here in the next day or two?
I would say it goes to what I consider having the champ's mindset. You can make that shift, right now. It's basically a decision to have the champ's mindset. And that's another acronym that I use, with our fighters and with our members here at the gym. So C would stand for being calculated. Again, having that plan, having that process of developing, habits that are going to keep moving you forward. H would be hungry, always knowing that you want more, you want to do more, and you want to have more than your opponent or than, the situation that you are facing right now, whether that be, being a better father or maybe being a better, businessman, whatever that might be for you. A would be audacious, meaning breaking out of your shell, knowing that sometimes you have to take yourself out of your comfort zone to really excel in life. Magnetic for M, meaning, again, going back to surrounding yourself with the right people and pulling yourself away from the people that aren't moving you forward. P would be, again, having that purpose in life, that why. Why do you roll out of bed in the morning? Have that purpose, and that, again, that'll give you a target and a goal for your day, for your week, or your life. And S would be having self-discipline. That is something I know we all struggle with. But, again, discipline shouldn't come from the outside. It shouldn't come from an external source. It should come from something within you, deep down inside, that you're here for a bigger and better reason in life. And you're going to make sure, again, that you're doing something every single day to get you closer to your vision, to your goal. So yeah, change the mindset, I would say, is the next thing you can do, or the one thing you can do in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Excellent. And again, for the listener, I'm going to have that acronym. I have everything written out there in the action plan, jimharshawjr.com/action. And so, Chris, what do you feel has been a habit that you've done over the years that has really set you apart? Because there's a lot of guys who have attempted to reach your level, but never got there, never came close. Same thing with myself. I kind of look back at my athletic career. What was a habit that you feel like you have that has set you apart and helped you achieve success?
I would say it's definitely the goal setting. I learned this, I learned this in my mid-20s. This is even after, or during my amateur fighting career. And, after all the struggles I faced as a kid and a teen. And I learned that, just writing things down on paper really made a huge difference, and reading them every day, obviously. You can write it down and set it to the side and it wouldn't do anything for you. But just seeing it in black and white and making sure it's always, top of mind, something that you can, again, always focus on. Kind of like the Rocky concept. Remember Rocky versus Drago?
Sure.
Yeah, Rocky, I'll never forget it. As a kid, I watched that movie, and Rocky put a picture of Drago on his bathroom mirror, while he was training in Russia, preparing to to fight Drago and get revenge for Apollo Creed. And that, pictures or words are things that would, he woke up every morning and knew that was his goal. And, in the movie, he obviously accomplished the goal. And, in life, it's going to be a struggle. There's going to be adversity and obstacles. But as long as you have that goal in mind, it gives you something, again, to really fight for, and that's what I believe a champion is, like someone that finds a love or a passion, a desire, and you fight for it till the very end, no matter what.
Yeah. And it's, when you have that goal front and center in front of you as a reminder, it's constantly influencing the decisions that you make, the food that you put in your mouth or the places that you go or the time that you spend with different people. It's, if you have those goals front and center, then it's a constant reminder, a constant coach for you. And one of the things that I do actually with the guys that I coach in my program, Reveal Your Path, is I send them all my business card. On the back of my business card, it has 4 areas for your goals. You write your goals on there and you keep them in your wallet. So it's, they're constantly on you always.
I like that, Jim.
Chris, I appreciate you making time to come on the show. Love your story. It's an incredible story. I encourage everybody to go check Chris out at chrisromulo.com. I'm going to have the link in the action plan again. Chris, can you tell everybody where else we can find you, follow you, what you've got going on, and how we can keep up with you?
So you can definitely pick up my memoir, Champions Uprising, on Amazon, and that's in Kindle and paperback version. You can find me on Facebook, Chris Romulo, aka CROM, or you can find me also on Instagram, Chris Romulo, aka CROM, and follow. I post motivational, quotes, and I actually, if you go to my website, you can sign up for my 3 times a week motivational, inspirational, educational emails. And yeah, that's pretty much it, Jim. Excellent.
Good stuff. And I've been following you on Instagram and love your posts and a lot of great stuff. So I definitely recommend the listener to check him out there, if not some of the other places that he just shared with us. So Chris, again, thanks so much for making time to come on the show.
Thank you again. And thanks to your community. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to my story and message.
Yeah, lots of good peeps in this community, so they'll enjoy this message. And for the listener, until next time, take the time to get clear on your goals and embrace failure as a stepping stone on your path to success. Don't forget what I talked about before the interview. If you want to find balance, clarity, and focus, take the next step and go to jimharshawjr.com/apply. Space on my calendar is very limited, so claim your spot now. jimharshawjr.com/apply.